Welcome to the WatchBox studio here in Neuchatel. My name is Patrik and I'm here with Geoffroy Ader, the watch expert when it comes to vintage and modern watches. Tell us a bit about what you did in the past and about your passion which you have today.
So I started 25 years ago. I come from a family of auctioneers. So 25 years ago I was supposed to become an auctioneer dealing with everything, works of art, paintings, and then suddenly I realized that my passion was watches. So I started a journey 25 years ago in Paris, and it led me to discover the entire world. I went almost in every watch capitals, Geneva, Hong Kong, New York, London, elsewhere, and my passion has always been to share about watches. And the best way to share about watches is to organize auctions. Because when you organize auctions, you have people in the room and you have this kind of feeling that these people, they are waiting for the show. And I think this is really important today. We talk about watches. Watches are very popular at auction, but definitely the essence of this popularity comes from the fact that people love watches and they love the history of watches. The history of watches is almost 500 years of history. We talk mostly about wristwatches because this is the 80% maybe of the market, but it is very important to focus on the watch itself and tell stories about watches. This is exactly what I'm here for, is really to share with people this passion I have for watches and tell them little bit stories that I've had in my entire career.
I can really feel the passion out there. It's really great to have you here. Thank you for coming. You have a long expertise, 25 years you said, but something differentiates you from other so-called experts in the watch industry, including myself. Because we hear a lot about marketing, we hear a lot about pricing, strategies, but people forget to talk about values. And I think value is really where you are the expert. Tell me about value in the watch business.
I think the value is something which is in a way very difficult to measure. The value is based on one criteria, which is emotion. When you buy a watch, what kind of emotion do you have? Do you like round watches? Do you like square watches? Do you like simple watches? Do you like complicated watches? I think the emotion, this is everything that a human being carries. And we can talk about strategy, we can talk about numbers, we can talk about figures. But at the end of the day, every person on this planet who buys a watch has an emotion. And today I have a goal is really to share this kind of emotion I have on a daily basis. And really to reinforce the values behind traditional watchmaking. What is traditional watchmaking? It is making a beautiful case, a beautiful movement, a beautiful dial, and assembling all these elements. And I think if we look at the watch industry, Switzerland is the heart of watchmaking. And this is where watches have been made for the last centuries. And they've been made with the heart of people who are sharing this passion. And it is really important to understand that when you have a watch in your hand, you have this kind of emotion, which is a real value, a real value. Why is it that Patek Philippe is shared by some people, Rolex is shared by other people? It is this kind of value. And the value that exists behind every watch brand is very important. So I think this is probably what I'm looking at today is to share all these values with the more people as possible on this planet who love watches. When I started 25 years ago, I have to be very honest with you, my father, who was an auctioneer, and my grandfather said, "What are we going to do with you?" It's like, you want to deal with watches? You should do furniture, paintings. And today, everyone's saying to me, "Oh, wow, you're a watch expert. This is fantastic. Tell us the stories. Tell us the stories." And I think the stories are the essence of the watchmaking industry. Why is it that some stories are heard more than others. It's because there is this kind of emotion. Why is the watch from Gandhi, for instance, so famous? And the watch went at auction many years ago, it made a record price, but it was the Gandhi watch. The watch was broken, it was in steel, had no value, but the value behind it was immense because of the personality of this man who made great achievements during the 20th century. So I think, yes, the value is probably the most important thing today in the entire watch industry.
Now, if you would sit in front of a CEO of a major watch company who creates nice timepieces, who has decided on pricing, on which segment he wants to be active in, how would you tell him to create value? What kind of expertise or tip would you give him?
I think, to be very honest with you, if I had to give an advice, and I'm very humble, and I don't want to give a real advice to a manager. I am not a manager myself, but I would say to every CEO on this planet, look at the people in your manufacturing, and look at these people, the passion they have making these watches. It starts from a very simple basic. You make watches, but you make watches with your heart. Every time I visit watch manufacturer in Switzerland, I always have this feeling that people making these watches, they cherish their work. They cherish the work they are doing, and they want this work to be done perfectly. And if there is one thing we have to take care about, it's people. It's people who are buying watches. It's really, this is essential. So if you look at the people making these watches, you will probably understand what the people buying these watches will want. Because I think there is a similarity. Maybe you have someone working in the factory and he will get a perpetual calendar at the end of his career, and this will be an achievement. But then it's the same for someone who's buying the watch. It is an achievement. So this is something where I really think if we position the watch from the human perspective, we will be very, very strong. Because what people like about Swiss watches is the fact that it's handmade. We have hands, we have fingers, we make watches. Then we have different ways of making marketing, promotion around watches. But first of all, we have hands making watches, and these hands, they're driven by the head. So, and this is really important to bear in mind, that it's people who make watches and it's people who buy watches. So you combine the two together, and then you have another vision behind all the numbers, the statistics. As I always say, and maybe this is a little bit strong, but money is a good servant but a bad master. At the end of the day, we are selling watches. So the money is the result of making these watches and having this passion for these watches. So yes, passion is the key element in today's world.
Very good. I think there's also a soul which goes into the timepieces. But let me switch to something else. I read somewhere that in 2015 you were working for Antiquorum, and you were the first one to launch an e-commerce platform for Antiquorum.
Yeah.
This is a complete different topic, but we see the world is changing, distribution is changing. What can you tell us about what motivated you to come up with that platform, e-commerce platform?
I think the main motivation came from one experience I had in 2014. So 2014, I had the privilege of working for Sotheby's, and for many years, for 7 years, from 2008 until 2014. And then suddenly I realized that everyone in the office was looking at their phone, looking at the networks, looking at Facebook, Twitter. My assistant, she was always saying to me, oh, look at Twitter, look at Facebook. And then suddenly I realized that there was a tool that could be used for the promotion of those values that we love in the auction industry. So in the auction industry, it's very simple. You organize an auction and you have maybe, let's say, maximum 1,000 people in the room, and this is a huge auction. But then on a regular basis, you have 50 up to 250, even more. And then I thought, well, look, how many people can I have through this online channel? I can have 1,000, I can have 10,000, I can have 50,000. There is, in fact, no limit. So I started to investigate the opportunity of trying to change people's mentality, saying we can have auctions, but also we can have online opportunities to buy watches as long as there is the trust. And this is why, you know, I initiated this project with Antiquorum at the time, which was to launch the first online boutique for an auction house which had a reputation on the market, and to really try and grab the entire community which is there online and doesn't know anything about auctions. I mean, most people today, I have to be very honest with you, they say to us, oh yes, can I attend the auction? Is it possible to come in? Of course it's possible to come in. I mean, it's open to the public. But online, you don't ask, you just go. You take your phone, you take your iPad, you take your computer. So the thing is, I think this is, and it has proven over the years, I mean 2015, 2016, 2017, and now 2018, and here we are sitting together. It has proven that the online business for watches is really the driving force for the Swiss watch industry, or the watch industry itself. How many watches today are online? It's huge. The only thing is, how can we convey a message of, well, this is a nice watch, you have to cherish this watch, you have to look after it. It comes from this brand which has a long tradition, this is a specific model, this is a specific complication. These are the type of things where you have to carry out emotions. The efficiency is definitely the #1 criteria online. Efficiency, you're looking for a reference. Let's say you're looking for a Rolex Daytona reference 6263. So you just go Google Rolex Daytona ref 6263. And then suddenly you will have loads of watches. But you need to decide which one to choose. And this is where it comes. How can you choose these watches? How can you be accompanied in your journey online? Because the journey online can be at home, can be on the train, can be on the beach, wherever it is. So I think personally, and this is why I'm amazed by the power of the online community, is that you can bring together people who don't know each other, but they share the same passion, which is watches. And this is why I'm going back to watches and the value. The value is people who are buying watches online, they're expecting, to have like a kind of emotion when receiving the watch. So if we can give them an emotion in advance, saying, well, this is the kind of advice we can give you, this watch, or this watch, or this watch. Definitely, this is a huge advantage because you have the rational aspect of the tool, which is the online tool, and then you have the emotional aspect of the human being. So you can be digital friendly, but you're staying a real human being with emotion.
Now, we hear a lot in the watch industry today about the distribution. What I mean is, there are a lot of brands now, or even groups, that are trying to verticalize their distribution. Where do you think this might lead to?
So I think, I'm not very familiar with the management, as we say, from the Swiss watch industry, and there are people who are very good at doing this. I have a feeling that today the watch industry is looking very carefully at what we call the second-hand market, because it is a huge market where there is offer and demand, and you can have a leverage of where is your brand on the second-hand market. And definitely there are going to be a lot of changes because of the digital tools. My feeling is the people who will be selling watches through the retailers will need more and more expertise. Just because of online information, people have more and more knowledge. The knowledge which is existing today on the market is huge. You have information coming from everywhere. You have information coming from all different kinds of channels. At the end of the day, you need to make the difference, and if we go from a vertical point of view, like let's say the watch comes out of the factory and then goes directly to a store which is owned by the brand, you need to have within the store people who are very, very qualified. So I have a feeling that we've come to a point where we need to bring more knowledge, more knowledge. Money is probably not a problem. There is a lot of money on this planet, a lot of money. The people, they want to understand what is the difference between this watch and this watch. Why is this watch valuable? Why is this one less valuable? Can this one become as valuable as the other one? So the more knowledge you will bring to people, the more energy they will put in buying these watches. And you know, it's very simple. If you take, for example, Rolex is releasing a watch. You cannot get it in the store. So it's not possible because there's a huge demand. Of course, this is a very specific brand. This is a very specific environment. But it is probably one of the brands which has created the most value around the crown. Everyone knows the crown. Everyone knows this crown. Same for Patek. Look at the passion this family has put into making these beautiful watches. This is really important. And again, there is the vision of the man who created the brand. For instance, Mr. Hans Wilsdorf, who created this brand, then did a foundation. He said, after me, this will be a foundation. And the foundation will lead to the destiny of Rolex. Look at Rolex today. Everyone wants to buy a Rolex. Look at Patek, which is the opposite. We are just here for the next generation. We are building watches that you will own, then you will give it to your son will give it to your grandson. So these are the values which I think today are the most important ones to protect. So in order to protect, you have to talk. If you don't talk, you cannot protect because people do not know. So yes, definitely the verticality is good, but the more knowledge you will put into the final customer coming to your store, the better the brand will be.
You're here at the WatchBox Lounge in Neuchatel. We are the leaders in pre-owned timepieces. We deal a lot with pre-owned values, and we know that the pre-owned market is just growing or has a huge potential. How is your feel? What can you tell us about the future of the pre-owned business and how important is it to the primary watch business?
I think these two businesses have to share in common a lot more than what they share today. If we take the example of the car industry, for instance, you buy a car and then you want to change your car, you come back, you give back your car, and then suddenly you get a new car, but you have an opportunity to give back your car. So I think, this is just one heart. We've always thought that there was a heart beating for the primary market and a heart beating for the secondary market, but it seems that it's the same one. So it's the same heart beating. The only thing is that, again, within the primary market, you have novelty, you have every year innovation, new watches and so on. In the secondary market, maybe you have a different offer, which is based on supply and demand. But in the middle, and this is what makes the difference at the end, values. What kind of values do you offer to the final customer? What kind of values do you offer through the watch you are not selling as the brand, but which is sold through a second party or a third party? And this is really interesting because these are the same values, and this is why I think it is very important, and I'm very happy to be here today to share these values with the second-hand market for so many years. On the auction market, we've looked at all these watches coming up. Look at the prestige. There is a watch that goes over 500,000, a million, but this is only digits. Look at all these historical watches. They make everything for the industry. You know, the Cartier from Andy Warhol, the Piaget from Jackie Kennedy, the Rolex from Winston Churchill. You know, all these names which have built the 20th century, they were always wearing a watch, and most of these watches were Swiss, and they were coming from brands. I think we should definitely, again, look forward towards what makes the watch so strong today. It's the most personal object you can wear, either for a man or a woman. And plus, and I've noticed this, especially on the art market, the watch department is always the only department which does not have any cultural barrier. A Rolex is the same here in Neuchatel, New York, Hong Kong, Dubai, wherever you are, it's a Rolex. So I think this is something which is very typical because we live in a world where brands are number one. People are looking at brands. But behind brands, you have people who have made these brands with a vision. Always people think, oh yes, this brand is like this, or this brand is like this. But why is it like this? That's the most important thing. Why has it become so powerful? Why has it become like the leading brand? Because you have people behind these brands and they've said, we will put all our efforts to bring excellence. And excellence is exactly what people are looking at. Excellence, I want to have a watch which is working perfectly. I want to have a watch that I can wear on a daily basis. Tastes are changing a lot at the moment. There are many different tastes. So yes, definitely there will be a lot of changes, but I think we have to join the two. The primary and the secondary have to rejoin because they have to join forces. You buy a watch, you want to buy a new one. You're going to the store where you bought the watch and you say, well, I want to buy this watch. Yes, no, maybe. And yes, it is very interesting that technology is, in one way, very disruptive, but in another way, it is bringing people together. It is bringing people together and facing the reality. If you buy a watch and you want to change your watch, and probably you don't have enough money to buy the second one, you will sell the first one, and then you will add a little bit more to buy the second one. And this is how you create a market and the perfect circle where people are buying, people are selling. It's a little bit like the human body. A human body, you need to have a heart, but without the blood, finish. Without the blood, and here there is one heart. It's watches, either it's primary or secondary, but the blood needs to circulate.
Very good, thank you very much for that. I think there are not many people who had the opportunity to have so many rare, some of the most exclusive and hard to get watches to go through their hands, like you did. If you would talk to an end consumer or a passionate person, what would you recommend to him or to her if she would come to you or he and says, I would like to buy a timepiece. What should I do? What should I look out for?
Well, the first thing I would say is buy the timepiece that you like. That's the first thing. Is never buy a timepiece thinking, yes, I'm buying this watch and maybe in a few years' time I will resell it and so on. You will hate it. we have to understand that the basics and the dynamics behind buying watches is really to buy something that you like. I always tend to use this analogy of, you know, these people who are trying to buy watches just to make a profit. This is not the way you have to look at watches. You're buying watches because you like them. Of course, and this is why we are here, experts. We can advise you. The ones which are going up, the ones which are slightly down and might go up. I think there are many brands which have done a great work recently. If we take, for instance, Hommes, they've done a real fantastic job about watches and their vintage and the patrimony behind the brand. It is pretty amazing. I mean, they've put together a scenario where these watches are put back into perspective. You know, if we look at Audemars Piguet, obviously everyone looks at the Royal Oak, but the Royal Oak is only one part of their history. They made beautiful chronographs, they made beautiful perpetual calendars, they made beautiful pocket watches, they made beautiful wristwatches. And I have a feeling that you know, the launch of their museum next year will be a huge event, not only for the brand but also for the entire region. They will go through a new concept where not only you will discover the world of Audemars Piguet, but you will discover the world of the Vallée Joux. And in the Vallée Joux there are many watchmakers, and they will take the lead. And it's always the same thing, taking the lead, being the one who says, okay, I have the courage to invest because I have a vision for 5, 10, 15 years. You know, when you go to the Vallée Joux, we are now in the winter, you arrive there, the snow, the mountains, the trees, it's like magical. And then suddenly you will see this museum, which is a beautiful building, and some of us may have seen the pictures. It will be totally redesigned and have a lot of light and so on. It is an experience. And I think this is one thing also that people want today. They want to live an experience. Just want to buy a watch. Yes, fair enough. But if I can have as well an experience, experiencing like people's life in the Vallée Joux, those watchmakers, they're very humble, no one talks about them, but they're making the watches. They're the ones who really putting their hearts into the work every day on a daily basis. And these are the people, and again, I'm coming back to human beings, these are the people creating these wonders. So yes, we have to be realistic and make sure, you know, the passion drives everything.
Thank you very much. That was certainly an experience for us to have you here. This is Patrik with WatchBox. Thank you for watching.